What we're going through right now is what we call the AIG effect. AIG canceled 160 meetings. Incentive Magazine came up with research that 58% of all meeting planners' budgets have been cut. 48% of the meetings have been shortened. So with that optimistic introduction, we're going to start asking these seasoned professionals, what are the greatest challenges, changes, experiences that you've encountered promoting your speaking career in this environment? Or in short, what shocks you, or what surprised you most today? Starting with Michael. Introduction, Michael Lee, Marilyn Manning, Craig Harrison, and Patricia Fripp.
Well, in my 20 years of speaking, this is a challenge. For the last 17, 18 years, I've been speaking in real estate, finance, and new home construction. Could you have picked three worst possible industries? They were wonderful industries until about 2 years ago when the real estate market collapsed. And then the following last year, everything else kind of went to heck in a handbasket. And so it dawned on me that I better get out of those industries. So thanks to NSA, what I learned how to do was to develop expertise quickly and credibility quickly. So I moved into healthcare by finding a doctor who was a specialist in my area, which is selling to people from diverse cultures. I called the American Medical Association, and I found out they had no books for doctors on cultural competence. And so we're now under contract to write a book for the AMA. We're currently speaking around the country for the AMA and writing articles. So within about a week, even though it's taken a little longer, but within a week I'd positioned myself for a new industry that I knew was going to be around as long as people had money. And so that's one of the things we got to do is be flexible and be ready to change.
What I found is just educating myself on what's come through on our surveys, and we're surveying about 2,000 C-level people, is that in government, which is about 50% of my firm's called the consulting team, about 50% of our business is government, and we're finding that in government, they're not doing strategic planning, they're just in fear. And they don't know what to expect, they don't know what's coming up, and so they're in a mode of just I could say anxiety. And they are admitting they're not doing any strategic planning, and that's one of our niches, is to do strategic planning. So we're able to use that survey to position one of our services that we already had and be of real value. So that's one way we've responded to the crisis, and it really is, we're seeing it much, much worse than 9/11, of course.
Well, there's no doubt that the outbound calls I make are met with a different sort of response. I absolutely concur. A lot of fear. What I'm finding is some of the topics of mine that were popular before are suddenly superfluous. I mean, customer service seems like a luxury right now.
Yeah.
They're just not interested. And however, any topic of mine that is close to sales, there's still a need for, there's still a justification for. But as we talked about last night with Aldana, it's a much longer sales process sometimes. There's a lot more hand-holding and convincing, and it's harder to close. People are afraid, and they could cancel at any moment. One of the things we agreed upon is have a good kill fee in your contract, because they could cancel right on up to about 48 hours before the program, and if you're protected in that way, you at least in some respects salvage something. Look at your topics anew. It's okay to have cute, clever titles, but make sure to tie it to the reality of the economics. Anything you can do to tweak your title, tweak your emphasis to what's happening, what's real, what's painful for them, I think will help you sell your programs.
I went to my first NSA convention in 1977. I've not missed a national convention since then. And whereas many of the speakers talked about before book and after book, for those of us who've been around, it was before the internet and after the internet. Because what I would do now, if I was starting out, is what speakers and consultants who've been around longer have had to develop. because we all have a salesperson who works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never asks for a commission, knows what we do, who we do it for, what they say about, and that is our websites. And marketing needs to be ongoing, consistent, relentless. You start, you don't stop. And now that business is a little slower, what we need to do is revisit all the decisions we made in the past, revisit how we told our story 5 and 10 years ago, and just tweak it so it's pertinent.
Certainly, don't quit your day job. No matter how great you are, it does take time. Even the great ones, it takes 4, 5, 6 years. More and more, I would say, join ProTrack. Not just for the content, which is incredible, but for the accountability, for the support, because it's a lonely, hard business. You need support. Very briefly, I spoke on the phone earlier this week with a past ProTrack graduate. A year ago at this time, she was not wild about the small group that she was asked to be a part of in ProTrack. She said, I can do without it. I said, then find a different group. But there's great value in that. Now, a year later, she's graduated ProTrack, our one-year program. She's still meeting with that support group and getting great value out of it. So things like ProTrack, I think, are invaluable for you.
One of the things that I did, and I learned from NSA starting out, was giving free talks. And I would do that again, but even more. And there are so many opportunities to do that, and then build your mailing lists and make sure you get good, accurate email mailing lists. Because I mean, just this week I heard from clients I hadn't heard from for 5 years, only because we've had contact through the newsletter. So I got a lot of the names from free talks. And my philosophy is if you're not working, you should be out speaking that day for free. You can't afford to sit idle, even at any days at all in this kind of economy. I just don't think we can afford just to sit home in our jammies.
I would have started to develop product a whole lot sooner. Because not only does it provide income 24 hours a day, and for me, it has provided as much as 6 figures a year, even when I'm sleeping. But it also markets you. It sits on people's shelves. People talk about it. So it's a marketing technique that people pay for. So I would have developed product as soon as possible.